Good morning, beautiful souls. Each day you wake up, you are given a new chance to create, to grow, and to succeed. Oprah Winfrey, a name known across the globe for success, resilience, and power, starts her mornings with purpose, and you can too. She doesn't just roll out of bed and react to the world, she creates her day. Her routine is not about perfection. It's about alignment, aligning your soul with your goals. Oprah starts her day not by checking her phone, not by rushing into emails, but by grounding herself. She begins with stillness, a few moments of silence, meditation, gratitude. She connects with her breath and with her purpose. That's not luxury, that's power. She reads something inspiring every morning, a spiritual passage, an affirmation, something that feeds her soul. Then she moves her body, walks, exercises, gets the energy flowing. Because movement wakes the body, and with it wakes your dreams. She journals not to document life, but to process it, to set intentions, to ask herself, what is the best use of this day? Not to get more done, but to do what matters. You don't need $1 billion empire to live with intention. You need just one thing, discipline in the morning, because how you start your day determines how you live your life. So tomorrow when you wake up, don't just check your phone. Check in with yourself. Don't just get moving, get mindful. Don't chase time, create meaning. Like Oprah, make every morning a launch pad, not a landing strip. If you win the morning, you win the day, and if you win enough days, you win your life. So rise with purpose, begin with stillness, lead with gratitude, and walk boldly into your greatness. When Oprah Winfrey opens her eyes in the morning, she doesn't rush into the chaos of the day. She doesn't immediately reach for her phone, check her emails, or scroll through social media. She begins with intentional stillness. This isn't just a pause, it's a powerful spiritual reset. In our fast-paced world, most people wake up already overwhelmed, thoughts racing, responsibilities looming, and digital distractions pulling at their attention. But Oprah chooses a different path. Her mornings start with silence, because in silence we hear the truth. In stillness, we connect with something greater, our purpose, our center, our breath. Stillness can be a short meditation, a deep breathing session, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts. For Oprah, it's about becoming present, allowing her mind to settle before taking on the weight of the world. She doesn't rush into decision making or productivity. Instead, she gives herself space to simply be. This quiet time is where clarity begins. It's where Oprah reconnects with her inner guidance, a practice that allows her to lead her day rather than be led by it. When you create a sacred space of stillness in your morning, you become more than just prepared, you become anchored. You become the calm in the storm, rather than the person being tossed around by it. Even 5 minutes of intentional stillness can shift your entire energy for the day. It reminds you that your value isn't in how fast you move, but in how centered you are while moving. This grounding practice is not about avoiding the world. It's about preparing yourself to meet it with grace, clarity, and strength. Stillness is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's a declaration that your peace is a priority, and that your day will begin not in panic, but in power. Gratitude is not just a feeling. It's a practice, and for Oprah Winfrey, it's a non-negotiable part of her morning. Each day, before she dives into meetings, calls, or creative work, she takes a few moments to acknowledge what she's thankful for, not just the big wins, but the simple, beautiful, everyday things. She might give thanks for the sunrise, a peaceful night's sleep, the sound of birds outside her window, or even the warmth of her tea. Oprah understands something that science now supports. When you actively express gratitude, your brain rewires itself toward optimism. You literally train your mind to see what's right instead of what's wrong. Why does this matter? Because the way you feel in the first hour of your day often determines the direction of the rest of it. When you begin with gratitude, you prime your mindset for joy, resilience, and possibility. You teach yourself that you already have enough, and from that fullness you can create more without desperation or stress. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that even in the middle of challenges, there is always something to be thankful for. Gratitude grounds you. It reminds you of your blessings, and in doing so, it softens the grip of anxiety and pressure. Oprah often says, "Be thankful for what you have, you'll end up having more." That's not magic, it's perspective. When your energy shifts into appreciation, your focus changes. You're no longer just chasing what's next. You're embracing what's now. You stop looking at life as a series of problems to fix and start seeing it as a collection of gifts to honor. By practicing gratitude every morning, Oprah cultivates a state of abundance. She starts her day not from a place of lack or fear, but from fullness and peace. And that shift, that tiny, intentional act, becomes the foundation for everything that follows. One of the most powerful habits Oprah Winfrey practices is protecting the first hour of her morning fiercely. In a world where most people reach for their phone before they even leave their bed, Oprah chooses a different rhythm. She does not begin her day bombarded by notifications, news, or social media feeds. She knows that what you consume first thing in the morning can shape your mindset for the entire day. Why is this important? Because your mind in those early morning moments is highly sensitive and impressionable. When you immediately dive into texts, emails, or social updates, you are instantly pulled into the demands, energies, and opinions of others. You start reacting to the world instead of creating your own reality. You give away your peace before you've even had a chance to fully wake up. Oprah understands that the first moments of the day are sacred. Instead of checking messages or scrolling through headlines, she checks in with herself, her breath, her body, her spirit. She protects her mental and emotional space as if it were a treasure chest, because it is. The phone, while a powerful tool, is also a portal to stress, comparison, and urgency. Social media algorithms are designed to grab your attention and keep it, often with content that triggers fear, judgment, or inadequacy. Oprah knows this, and she chooses to begin her day with intention, not interruption. Avoiding immediate distractions is not about ignoring responsibilities. It's about setting the tone of your day before anyone else gets the chance to set it for you. It's about being grounded in your own truth before the outside world floods in with noise. Even if it's just for the first 30 minutes after waking, keeping your phone out of reach or on airplane mode can create a powerful boundary. It gives your mind space to breathe, to think clearly, to feel deeply. Oprah doesn't give away her focus cheaply. She owns her attention. And that's a major key to her success. By resisting the urge to dive into distractions, she claims ownership of her day, one peaceful, intentional morning at a time. One of the cornerstone habits of Oprah Winfrey's morning routine is reading something that nourishes her spirit. Each day, before the demands of the world come knocking, she opens a book or passage that uplifts her, enlightens her, and reminds her who she truly is. This isn't random reading, it's intentional. It could be a spiritual devotional, a line of poetry, a passage from Eckhart Tolle, Maya Angelou, or Marianne Williamson. The content is always chosen for one purpose: to awaken her consciousness and raise her emotional frequency before she steps into the world. Why does this matter? Because the first messages you feed your mind shape the narrative of your day. Most people begin with news headlines, urgent emails, or social media posts full of distraction or comparison. But Oprah chooses wisdom over noise. She starts her day by connecting with ideas that elevate her thinking, soften her heart, and clarify her vision. Inspirational reading isn't about escaping reality, it's about entering the day with clarity and purpose. It helps you remember that you are more than your to-do list, more than your stress, more than your circumstances. It lifts you out of survival mode and brings you into a mindset of growth and presence. Oprah has often shared that she keeps a copy of the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo by her bedside and reads a page each morning. It doesn't take much. Sometimes just a paragraph is enough to shift your energy, reset your thoughts, and reconnect with your higher self. This practice becomes a form of mental and spiritual calibration. Like tuning an instrument before a concert, Oprah tunes her mind with truth before she faces the noise of the world, And this isn't limited to celebrities or public figures. Anyone, no matter their background or routine, can choose to feed their soul first. Whether it's scripture, philosophy, or a motivational passage, reading something inspirational in the morning is a form of self-leadership. You choose what voices you allow into your consciousness. You decide which thoughts take root. And by making this choice daily, as Oprah does, you build a foundation of wisdom, peace, and power that will carry you through whatever the day brings. For Oprah Winfrey, moving her body each morning isn't just about fitness, it's about activating life itself. She knows that energy creates momentum, and momentum shapes the day. That's why, as part of her morning routine, she makes time to stretch, walk, or work out, not to lose weight, not to punish herself, but to honor her body and to step into the flow of vitality. This physical movement can be a morning walk with her dogs, a session on the treadmill, or a workout with her personal trainer. But it's never about intensity for its own sake. It's about connection, reconnecting with her physical self and treating movement as a form of gratitude. Her attitude is simple. If you can move, you must, because it's a gift. When you move in the morning, you're telling your body, I'm alive, I'm ready, I'm here. Movement increases oxygen flow to the brain, releases endorphins, and sharpens focus. It shakes off the sluggishness of sleep and replaces it with a rhythm of action. It also helps clear the mind, release tension, and dissolve anxiety before it builds. Oprah believes that movement is a form of self-respect. It doesn't have to be extreme to be effective. What matters is consistency and intention. Even a 15-minute stretch or a short walk outdoors can awaken your senses, reconnect you with nature, and remind you that your body is the vessel that carries your dreams forward. This isn't about chasing an ideal body or keeping up with trends. It's about owning your mornings, moving with purpose, and using physical energy to fuel mental clarity. Oprah doesn't view movement as a task, she sees it as a ritual of empowerment. And what's powerful about this habit, it is that it's available to everyone. You don't need a gym membership or fancy equipment. You just need the willingness to move even a little, and the commitment to make your health a part of your success story. When you start your day by moving your body, you send a message to yourself and the world. I'm here, I'm capable, I'm ready to rise. And that one message can change everything about how the rest of your day unfolds. For Oprah Winfrey, journaling isn't a casual activity, it's a spiritual tool, a ritual of clarity, healing, and self-empowerment. Each morning, after centering herself and moving her body, she reaches for her journal not to record every little detail of her life, but to reflect deeply and anchor herself in intention. Journaling is where Oprah processes her thoughts. She writes to connect, not to perform. She asks herself honest questions. What am I feeling today? What do I need to release? What do I want to create? This is not about scripting a perfect life. It's about exploring the truth of where you are so you can consciously choose where you're going. Through her journaling, she cultivates awareness. She gets quiet and listens to her own inner voice, the one that often gets drowned out by the world's noise. It's in those pages that she rediscovers her why, reminds herself of her values, and reconnects with her vision. She doesn't journal because her life is perfect. She journals because her life is real, and she honors it by putting her truth on paper. One of Oprah's most consistent practices is gratitude journaling. She writes down a few things she's thankful for each day. Not just the big things, but the little, ordinary moments. The sound of rain on the window, a delicious cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend. She said many times that this simple act, the discipline of writing down what she appreciates, transformed her life. It made her more aware, more present, and more in tune with abundance. Journaling is also how she sets the tone for her day. She might jot down her intentions, goals, or even one word she wants to embody, like peace, focus, or courage. This gives her clarity and direction. It's no longer about reacting to the day As it unfolds, it's about steering it with purpose. And here's what's powerful. You don't need to be a writer to journal like Oprah. You don't need perfect grammar or poetic insight. You just need to be willing to be honest on the page. Your journal becomes a mirror, a map, and sometimes a sanctuary. It's where confusion becomes clarity, where fear becomes courage, and where silence becomes strength. By making journaling a part of her mornings, Oprah doesn't just reflect on her life, she leads it from the inside out. One of the most transformative habits in Oprah Winfrey's morning routine is the daily setting of intentions. This isn't just about making a to-do list. It's about pausing to ask a powerful question. What energy do I want to carry into this day? What matters most today? Oprah understands that intention is the seed of every action. When you start the day with a clear intention, you give direction to your energy, your attention, and your time. You're not just drifting from task to task, you're living on purpose. Each morning, before she gets pulled into the demands of her schedule, Oprah centers herself with conscious thought. She doesn't just ask, "What do I need to get done today?" She goes deeper and asks, "What kind of person do I want to be today? How do I want to show up for myself and for others?" Maybe the intention is to be calm, no matter what chaos arises. Maybe it's to listen more and speak less. Maybe it's to be present with loved ones instead of distracted. Or maybe it's to give her best in a creative project she's been working on. Setting an intention is like programming your inner compass. It aligns your actions with your deeper values. Without it, your day can become reactive, full of distractions, demands, and detours. But with intention, even the smallest tasks become part of a greater purpose. Oprah has often said, "The reason most people fail is not because they don't have talent or dreams, it's because they lack clarity." That clarity begins with intention. It turns pressure into purpose. It transforms routine into meaning. It helps you prioritize what matters and let go of what doesn't. And this practice doesn't take long. It could be one word, one sentence, one quiet moment of alignment, but that moment changes everything. Because when you enter the day with intention, you don't just move, you move with meaning. You don't just speak, you speak with truth. You don't just work, you work with soul. Oprah sets her intentions every morning not to control the day, but to co-create it, to be an active participant in her life, not a passive observer. In Oprah Winfrey's morning practice, visualization isn't a vague, wishful exercise, it's a deliberate, empowering ritual. After grounding herself in gratitude, journaling, and intention setting, she takes a moment to mentally rehearse the life she's creating. She pictures her day going well. She sees conversations flowing with ease. She imagines herself showing up with confidence, compassion, and clarity. She visualizes the energy she wants to bring into every space she enters. Why does she do this? Because your brain doesn't fully distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. When you visualize success, you create a neurological blueprint that primes your body and mind to move in alignment with that vision. It's not magic, it's science and focus working together. Oprah has long believed in the power of imagination as a spiritual tool. She said, "You become what you believe, not what you wish for." Visualization is how she plants those beliefs deeply in her spirit. She doesn't just hope for a good outcome, she sees it, feels it, and steps into it mentally before it ever happens physically. Whether she's preparing for a major interview, a keynote speech, or a quiet day at home, she spends time visualizing the kind of energy, connection, and outcomes she desires. This practice gives her confidence, calms anxiety, and reminds her that she is not reacting to life, she is co-creating it. And this is something anyone can do. You don't need a perfect plan or a big stage. You just need a moment of stillness and the willingness to picture your best self showing up fully. You can visualize walking into that meeting and speaking with power. You can see yourself handling challenges with patience and grace. You can imagine the feeling of progress, peace, or joy, whatever success means to you that day. Oprah knows that when you start your day with a clear mental picture of success, you're not just guessing your way through the hours ahead, you're guiding them from the inside out. You're not waiting for confidence to arrive, you're building it, vision by vision, morning after morning. For Oprah Winfrey, success is never just about what you accomplish, it's about staying connected to who you are and why you're here. That's why, every morning, she intentionally takes time to align herself with something greater than deadlines, meetings, or achievements. She calls it a spiritual connection, a grounding force that reminds her she's not just living a busy life, but a meaningful one. This connection might come through prayer, meditation, reflection, or simply sitting in stillness and breathing. For Oprah, it's not about religion or ritual, it's about relationship. A relationship with the divine, with the universe. With her inner guidance, that quiet, steady voice that speaks in wisdom, not noise. She said many times that the most important part of her day is the moment she remembers who she really is, not a title, not a brand, not a list of responsibilities, but a soul with purpose. Before stepping into the roles she plays for the world, she reconnects with her center. Because from that center, she leads with clarity, compassion, and courage. In this quiet space of connection, Oprah doesn't ask, "What do I have to do today?" She asks, "How can I serve? How can I grow? How can I be used for something meaningful today?" This simple shift transforms her day from a checklist to a calling. She knows that without spiritual alignment, even the most productive day can feel empty. But with it, even the smallest actions are filled with peace and power. When you tap into something bigger, whether you call it God, Source, Spirit, or simply truth, you start living from a place of inner strength instead of external pressure. And this is available to anyone. You don't need incense or hours of solitude. You just need the willingness to pause, listen, and align. A few minutes of deep breathing, a whispered prayer, or a quiet affirmation can completely reset your energy and remind you, you are not alone and you are not lost. Oprah believes that real success flows from the inside out. And when you begin your day by connecting to something bigger, you're not just chasing goals, you're living in harmony with a deeper purpose. One of the most powerful lessons Oprah Winfrey embodies is this: greatness is built through consistency, not intensity. Her morning routine isn't something she does occasionally. When it's convenient or when she feels like it, it's something she commits to every single day. Not because she has to, but because she's learned that true transformation happens through repetition. These daily practices, gratitude, stillness, movement, journaling, visualization, intention, are not checkboxes for her. They are rituals of alignment, part of the rhythm of her life. She doesn't view them as chores. She sees them as investments in her energy, her clarity, and her soul. Each morning she shows up for herself, not perfectly, but consistently. And over time, those choices compound into power. Oprah understands that success isn't built in dramatic, one-time efforts. It's built in the quiet daily decisions that no one sees: waking up early, choosing calm over chaos, feeding your mind before feeding your schedule. It's about showing up even on the days when you're tired, uninspired, or distracted. Especially on those days. That's why she protects her mornings like sacred ground. Because consistency isn't just about discipline, it's about identity. Oprah doesn't just do her routine. She's become the kind of person who lives her routine. It's part of who she is, and that's the key. Habits become powerful when they become part of your story. When you don't have to force them because they reflect your values, your vision, and your purpose. Oprah's consistency comes from her clarity. She knows what kind of life she's building, and she knows that starts the moment she opens her eyes. No matter how busy life gets, no matter what's going on in the world, Oprah returns to these practices. Not because they're flashy or quick, but because they're foundational. They keep her grounded when life gets loud. They keep her focused when success brings distractions. They keep her centered when pressure rises. Consistency is how Oprah turns inspiration into embodiment, how she bridges the gap between who she was and who she's becoming. Oprah Winfrey's morning routine isn't just a set of habits, it's a way of honoring life. It's how she aligns her mind, body, and spirit with purpose before the world places demands on her. It's how she builds strength from stillness, clarity from reflection, and success from intention. She reminds us that how you start your day is how you shape your destiny. You don't need fame, fortune, or a perfect schedule to live like this. You just need the willingness to begin, the discipline to continue, and the belief that you are worthy of living intentionally. So if you're serious about becoming your best self, not someday, but starting today, then begin each morning the way Oprah does, with presence, with power, and with purpose. Your morning is not just the beginning of a day, it's the foundation of your future. Start strong, stay consistent, and step into the life that's already waiting for you, one intentional morning at a time.